Alright guys, welcome back, and in this tutorial going to be teaching you guys about functions. Going to be pretty sweet, and it's actually really important in C programming. So, well, let's go ahead and get to it. Now, before I actually start typing all the syntax and the code how to create a function, I want to explain why you would ever want one in your program. You see, the programs we made right now were kind of simple. Some were pretty long, like some of the demonstrations, but most of them were really basic. However, whenever you're making an actual program or a piece of software to sell to some company or just for a company, you're gonna have a lot of code, and it's really useful to break it up into smaller bits just so it's more organized. So functions allow you to break your code up into smaller bits and organize it really well. And also, another cool thing about them is what you can do is you can write a bunch of code and write it as a function, and then you can use that function whenever you want. You don't have to rewrite the code over and over and over again. So alright, they sound pretty cool, so let's go ahead and create one. Now, I don't know if you remember from like the first or second tutorial, but we already have a function created in our program. It's this main function right here. So pretty much every single program in C is made up of one or more functions. The one function that it has to have is this main one, and it's the first function that gets called whenever your program opens. So whatever in here between these curly brackets is the first thing that always runs. So outside of these curly brackets, this is the area where we can create a new function. Now, there are a couple different pieces that we need to remember whenever we create a function, and we can see up here the first part is a data type. Now, there are some functions that are just going to do something like print something out on the screen, and there are other functions that are going to do something like calculate a number, like you're making a calculator and adding two numbers together. So whatever that function does, it's going to give you something back, like the sum of a number. In this function right here, it returns 0, pretty much means give you back a number. However, for the function I'm going to show you first, I'm just going to make a really easy one that just prints something out on the screen, so it doesn't give you any numbers back or anything. So whenever you make a really simple function that doesn't give you anything back, just put void, and it pretty much says, hey C, we're making a function, it's going to do something, we don't want anything in return. How generous of us, right? So after that, you can name your function anything you want. Of course, just like variables, don't start it with any stupid symbols. So this is just going to print something out on the screen, so I think it would be appropriate to name it print something. Easy enough. Now after the name, add two little parentheses right now, and in the next couple videos I'm going to be talking to you guys about what you're going to put inside those parentheses. But for right now, don't worry about them, but you need to have them. Again, you'll understand later. And the last thing is two curly brackets. Now of course we already know that anything that we want our function to do goes in between those curly brackets. And this is just going to be a real simple one, so print something out on the screen. What am I going to print? I'm a function. Now another thing I want to point out is even though this function isn't like calculating any numbers and giving us back the answer, every single function needs to have a return statement. So what return means is pretty much we're done with this function, return to the rest of your program. So again, whenever you get an answer back, you're going to have return the number, return something else, but since this is just printing something out on the screen, you just write return, and it pretty much just means I'm done with this function, go back to something else. Easy enough. So we have this function right here called void print something that prints I'm a function out on the screen. So let's run this bad boy right here. Alright, where is that text? It didn't seem to print out, and this is why. So check it out. You know how I told you that whenever a computer program runs in C, the first thing it does is it looks to this main function and it runs any code in here. Well, that's what it did. It looked in main and said, okay, la la la, return 0. So that's all our program is doing right now. So even though we have this function called print something created, we didn't tell our program, hey, we created this function, now we want to actually use it. So what we need to do is, in order to use a function, just copy the name of the function and the parentheses after it and paste it wherever you want to use it. So right there, it's going to say, okay, when you get to here, go to this function called print something and print text out on the screen. Now, before I run this code, there's one other thing I want to talk to you guys about, and I know that this is a lot just to use a simple function, but this is the problem that we have. Computer programs, as you already know, they run from top to bottom. So that's why this line occurs first, and then this line, and this. So it makes it simple, just like people read, it runs top to bottom. So this is what's going to happen with your computer. Whenever it runs this program, it's going to include all these built-in functions, and then it's going to say go to main. So it's going to start running main, and it's going to say, okay, print something. Wait a minute, I don't have that function in here. What the heck is this? Is it a variable? Is it something you make? What the heck is it? I don't know about this. So since C is eventually going to get to this line and not know that print something is a function that we made, we need to actually warn it above that, hey, whenever you get to print something, it's actually a function that we made, so look for it somewhere else in our program. And this is called prototyping your function, and it's really easy to do. You want to prototype all of your functions that you made yourself above main. And to prototype it, just copy the return type, the name of the function, and the parentheses, and paste it right above main with a semicolon afterwards. So what our program is going to do right now is say, okay, first thing, include all these built-in functions like printf and stuff like that. Then let me scroll down. Okay, so right now you're saying you made a function called print something. So now whenever I run across it in your program, I'm not going to get confused. I know that it's a function. So of course then you just go to main because it's the first thing it does. Scroll down here, use this function print something, which prints something out on the screen, and pretty much that's the end. So let's run this and check it out. So that's what it did. It just did it incredibly fast. Now remember that I told you guys the cool thing about functions is you can write them once, write any code you want in there and use it over and over again. Well, to use it over and over again, actually let me throw a new line on here. All you do is paste it as many times as you want. So run this and check it out. I'm a function. Pretty sweet. So right now, obviously this wasn't very useful. If you're making a simple function like this, you might as well just print this line out right up here. But I just want to show you guys the concepts of a function is basically reusable code that not only helps organize your program, but code that you can use over and over and over again really easily. So now that we got the boring crap about functions out of the way, we can begin doing something cool with them. So for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and well, I'll see you next time.